Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.
Hi everyone, I'm Mike Witch. Welcome to The Local Live.
And I'm Jackie Grosha. Welcome folks to our 21st show.
We're here to bring you, as always, more community news happening in Larchmont, Mamaroneck, and Ryeneck.
Also, Mike, we want to give a shout out to all the mothers in our community and wish them a day as memorable as ever.
That's right, Jackie. Mother's Day is right around the corner, and we're celebrating it early on today's show. Later on, Westchester County Legislator Catherine Parker and Village of Mamaroneck Justice Christie Derrico will be talking to Maura Carlin about balancing motherhood and careers and other topics. Stay tuned to join that conversation.
Now it's time to present the lineup for tonight's Local Live.
Thanks to a new initiative, it's now even easier to get important information to the police right from your phone.
Mamaroneck is taking proactive measures to keep our water clean. We have all the details.
And the Ryeneck girls lacrosse team makes our varsity sports play of the week.
Interested in science? STEMtastic has arrived at Homix Middle School.
And Rebecca Berman is bringing us ideas to surprise mom on her day. The flower bar is in the spotlight.
Want to know how you can adopt this little girl? We'll tell you later.
This week, Mamaroneck Village Police Department unveiled their new high-tech tip line, Tip 411. The program is an internet-based chat system in which residents can send anonymous tips to police by text message. Officers can then respond to the messages without ever seeing any information which might give away that person's identity. In a statement on the Village of Mamaroneck Facebook page, officials write that the program is meant to help citizens play an active role in keeping their neighborhoods safer. For more information on how to use Tip 411, you can find a press release on the Village of Mamaroneck official Facebook page.
At a water quality forum on Saturday, residents of Mamaroneck Village met Tracy Brown, the head of a new Save the Sound office opening on Post Road. Save the Sound is an organization which works in New York and Connecticut to protect the waters of Long Island Sound. Ms. Brown will be working in conjunction with village residents and other water conservation programs.
You can push the envelope and do things that are leading edge and provide models of new ways of doing things that will inspire other communities. And it seems like you have the public interest and the resources, so, you know.
The office will be open in the last weeks of May. Anyone interested in seeing the whole water quality forum featuring Ms. Brown's presentation can find it on the LMC TV website on demand. Next, it's your segment in the media.
For the latest on the busing controversy in the Mamaroneck School District, take a look at the Mamaroneck Review. Reporter Katie Hoos explains that Fairness for All Kids, a grassroots group of parents, has filed a lawsuit against the superintendent and the board after the board formally adopted a budget that cuts some yellow bus transportation to private schools. She reports the parents' arguments as well as the district's response to the lawsuit. A short note in the Loop caught my eye. There will not be any block parties along Mamaroneck Avenue this summer. For the past 3 years, the Mamaroneck Shares block parties have been held monthly during the summer months. Seems that merchant and participant support has declined a lot. And says organizer Peggy Jackson in a letter to her board, we're raising less money for our charities and spending more money on each event. From the Larchmont Patch, Post Wines and Spirits has a Mother's Day special you may want to take advantage of, especially because it's partly for charity. For every bottle of wine you buy from May 9th through 11th, the store will donate $1 to the Larchmont Mamaroneck Hunger Task Force. The store is on the corner of Boston Post Road and Larchmont Avenue. Happy Mother's Day, Indeed. And now a whole bunch of good news from the Mamaroneck schools. First, congratulations to the high school varsity baseball team and to Coach Mike Schiaparelli. The current edition of The Loop tells us why. Mamaroneck bettered Mount Vernon in the first of 2 annual league games, and that win was number 500 for their coach, affectionately called Coach Schaap, who's headed the Tigers for 30 years. Says Schiaparelli, I'm grateful to my wife, daughter, and family for putting up with all of my hours coaching, and I've been privileged to have been able to coach both of my boys. Margaret Zimmer, or Mimi as she's better known, is this year's valedictorian at Mamaroneck High School, and on May 5th, the Journal News named her Student of the Week. In addition to her academic achievements, the newspaper cited her contributions to the all-state band, she plays flute, as well as her recent travel to China on an exchange program. You can read more at lohud.com. And finally, congratulations to MHS students Zach Nagin, a junior, and Matt Wasong, a sophomore. They won top awards at 2 recent film festivals. Matt took first place at the Greenwich Youth Film Festival, and Zach won second place at the Future Filmmakers Festival held at the Pelham Picture House. Both boys credit MHS video teacher Emily Dombroff for inspiring them and teaching them filmmaking skills. I'm so proud of these guys, she says. They work so hard. This kind of work takes so much detail, patience, and grit, and these kids have it. Well, congratulations to Zach, to Matt, and to Miss Dombroff. And those were some of the stories that caught my attention this week in the media.
Hey guys, you're watching the Local Live. Stay tuned.
Woo!
Yeah.
I'm Maura Carlin. This is the Local Live Roundtable. In honor of Mother's Day, we're talking parenting.
And I'm Rebecca Berman. Remember, if you're watching us and have questions or comments, you can tweet, email, and call us using the contact info on the screen.
Are you a tiger mom, a dolphin dad, or a helicopter parent? It's no longer enough to read Dr. Spock and trust your instincts. Now we're debating how much involvement is too much and too little, when to let your kids quit or fail, and a whole lot more. We'll get to the personal, governmental, and legal issues you want to discuss with our guests, County Legislator Catherine Parker and Lawyer in Justice Christie Derrico, who also are moms. Thank you for joining us. Let's start with tigers and dolphins. Amy Chua's controversial book, The Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, struck a nerve with a lot of parents. Pushing kids relentlessly to succeed with hyperparenting and discipline has faced a strong backlash. On the other hand, a Long Island high school student accepted to every Ivy League school credits his helicopter parents. What do you ladies think?
Personally, I think it has a lot to do with the kid as well as the parenting style. And I'm not one to criticize any parent's choice, but I've kind of maintained about my kids, they're going to be the best kid, whoever they are. And I don't know who that is or what they will respond to. Some kids would respond really well to a parent who's really pushing. And I think other kids are going to, be so stressed out by it, and it could potentially cause a lot of damage to their psyche. So, when I read that, story about the tiger mom, my first thought was, nah, I really wondered about her kids. Were they able to really evolve and become the people they were going to be?
What she actually said was that her first one fell into line on that program, and her next one fought back.
Well, there is this argument, maybe we won't have any more concert pianists unless we have tiger parenting, because they start at a very young age and push them. But I think Catherine's raised a good point. It depends on the kid. But we live in a very affluent area, And we have parents, I'm not sure if you would classify them as tiger or just very overbearing and helicoptering.
Or type A.
Totally type A. There are people, the parents we have to deal with in our own interactions, but how that correlates and translates to the children, we see it on the sports field, we see it in our children's activities, and sometimes when you can just be in a lesser stressful environment, it's a relief. It's nice to, we have children on highly competitive sports teams and then on town teams. How much more enjoyable is it to sit in a nice chair at the town team game, watch the kids kick or hit the ball, and just have a good time? But then when you see a kid with an aptitude, you're struggling as a parent. How much is pushing and how much is encouraging?
And how does this affect them when they actually hit the workforce? A friend told me a story of when she was doing recruiting for an executive training program that a father showed up with his candidate daughter and wanted to sit in on the interview.
I think we can all agree that that isn't good.
And I think that you have a question for us.
Yes, I do. So we're going to start with our question with the title is My Son is Graduating. My son is graduating from college in a few weeks and I am a wreck. As parents may be going through the same thing or having gone through it before, how do you deal? And how can you help them navigate through this next phase?
Well, Maura, we both are at the same point.
Right.
We each have children graduating from college, so they're 21, 22 years old. And it's interesting with the healthcare situation with Obamacare, they have determined that 26 is the age of emancipation, and a friend of mine even had a policy that went even older than that. But I felt that that was a societal expression of when we feel kids are emancipated. But here, this parent is still hyper-parenting, and they're 22 years old, which at another time would clearly be someone that would be considered adult. And now we are, definitely lengthening the years of adolescence well into a kid's 20s.
Well, and some professionals say that it really does go into the mid-20s. But having had a recent graduate, he just graduated, who is home trying to figure out what he wants to do, he's actually asking for some assistance in finding a job, which I think is okay, but he's the one who has to figure out what he wants to do next.
Well,
that would kind of be my advice. I'm not a wreck about it.
Would you review his resume? I mean,
of course,
I would.
If he asked me to, but I wouldn't insist upon it if he didn't ask me to. Much like I'd review a friend's resume if they asked me to.
Right.
I was just going to throw in, it seems like we've come a really long way since when we were back going off to college. I mean, literally, my parents moved the day after they dropped me off at school. And that was before cell phones, and that was before, there were actually phones that, they had to be hooked up in the dorm. I think I went like 3 weeks without talking to my parents, and they seemed perfectly fine with that. So I think we've come a long, long way.
Well, it's a question of whether it's good or it's bad. I mean, the point here is we want to have children that can become independent at some point in time, have careers, support themselves, and how do we get there? And are the things we are doing destructive to that end? And I think if I have to speak about my daughter who went through Mamaroneck, I'm happy. I feel that I am confident that she will be independent. It may take a couple of years. She'll definitely be on my insurance for a couple of years, but I think that the end product, I think she can do it, and I think she can find a job, and I'm ready for this next step.
I will say, having friends who are further along in the process, some of the business world is set up to keep them dependent upon us. I keep hearing stories about big companies who are only employing them for 30 hours a week to keep them as part-time so they don't have to provide benefits.
Oh, well, just adding an amusing anecdote, I sit in the local court, and I would say a red flag that is troubling is when someone is coming in with their mother at 30 years old on a pot charge or something, and mom is saying, "Can he get public assistance?" That, I would say, is a red flag that we need to cut the ties.
Yeah.
And you can't make those stories up, but I have seen them.
Do they have special cells in jail where you have like the parental suite? A
UPM is just a violation, unlawful possession of marijuana. But when someone's 30 years old and still having their mom bring them to court, another one I heard was someone was late and they said their mom didn't wake them up, and they were very old, like 27 or something. It's my mom's fault I couldn't get there because she didn't wake me up. That's a problem.
Okay, so but at what age should that not be an excuse
Oh,
anymore?
definitely by 22. I am not waking anyone up. But you might make a phone call if it was that important interview, as you would a friend who you might know sleeps in. I would say that might be okay, but waking your 22-year-old up every day, that's
No, not gonna happen.
not good for either of you.
You had another
Yes,
one for us?
this is on a different note. I think we're going back to the younger age. This is on middle school cliques. As the father of 2 girls, getting through middle school has been a tough feat so far. I'm constantly trying to help my girls avoid cliques and mean girls. And it seems like such a hard time for preteen girls, even more than boys. What should I be promoting to make sure my girls are well-rounded?
You know, I feel for that parent, and as a mother of a middle school girl, I think that he's, you know, definitely identified a big issue that, you know, I think the schools are more proactive than they used to be. I think that they're more aware that girls have a different type of aggression than boys do. And it comes in the form of shunning, it comes in the form of exclusion. So I definitely, what I do with my daughter is I try to give her a really safe, nurturing home environment and give her a sense of, you know, she's a good person, and be the best person you can be, and be true to yourself and be true to your character, and don't feel that you have to, you know, become somebody that you're not just to be accepted. And, you know, I'm really proud of the choices that, as an 8th grader, she's been making.
As a mother of 3 girls, I have books on my shelf on this topic, and the movie Mean Girls really came from a book, Queen Bees and Wannabes. And there, it is statistically shown girls drop off in activities at about age 12, 13. What's really nice about that text is that a dad wrote it. And that has also been statistically proven that fathers active in their daughters' lives, and it, you know, it's uncomfortable at times. My husband has had to go to the store for my daughters when I'm sure he didn't want to do that, and he's really, but I think that relationship builds the confidence to deal with these issues. But those years definitely were the worst, those tween years, and there are mean issues they have to deal with. And I've spoken with friends of mine, one friend coined the phrase that it's really hard to be a girl, and we almost feel bad for them. So, you know, maybe they're wearing an outfit they shouldn't be wearing or something like that, and before you just jump on the bandwagon and say, what the heck is she wearing? She looks like blah, 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 think how hard it is for that girl. Why does she feel she has to wear that outfit?
Do you think that that it's harder for a dad to understand what's going on with the girls than for a mother to understand what's going on?
All men have problems with women. We're a big confusion to them.
Although to your point, and to the father that actually wrote in, I think that my husband maintains that having a father who's really involved in a young girl's life is one of the ways that she has really good self-esteem. You know, he tries to say to her, you know, you're a beautiful girl, you know, and not just about beauty, but she's a smart girl. And, you know, hearing that from a man in her life, a safe man that, you know, is just, you know, unconditional love, I think is really important. And I think it's really to your point too, what you were saying, that I think that, you know, fathers can be cognizant and aware and really help. You know, again, it's all the image, I think, that girls have, that they are reflected back.
And being involved and doing things. My husband's repairing a boat for my daughter right now, which we are still debating whether she deserves, but he involves her in that, and I think doing those things together doesn't always have to be a guy thing, and I think fathers can do it, and I think we've seen a lot of, I like to see fathers with the baby pouch on and pushing a stroller. I actually think that that's a wonderful change for our society, and it shows men that they're needed and involved, and it draws them in. It's good.
Okay, I hope that answered his question and encouraged him to keep up. Let's turn to dolphin parenting, which is a little bit of a funny concept, but as I understood it from what I read, dolphins travel in pods or communities, and the community sort of raises them, and it's an argument for keeping your kids in your community, in your neighborhood, doing things instead of all the structured activities, the organized play dates, the this and the that. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a balance. You know, I think that makes some sense on some level. I try, you know, again, to give my kids a sense of their hometown and the people in their hometown. We just went to something last night that was a ceremonial meeting with a lot of volunteers in the community, and I thanked those people, and I said, you're making my kids' hometown the best hometown. And I brought my children to see the people that are really contributing. And I think it's true that the unstructured things, like, you know, we just did a sort of cleanup around around our brook. That was, you know, again, to kind of remind and give, I think, the kids a sense of, you know, this is your home. You know, you take care of your home and
Okay, but let's flip it a little, which is, I remember growing up, you know, Mom said, okay, go out and play, come home at 5, whatever. But if I did that now and didn't know where my kid was, you know, I'd probably get in some trouble.
You text them, Maura, let's be honest. Yeah. So, you know, we'd all text her. But
my youngest doesn't have a phone, so no.
Well, I think we can all relate to what is being addressed with the dolphin parent. And I have a huge spread. My oldest is 21, my youngest is 5. And I'm really tired right now. So I am not as, you know, ready to organize every minute of every day. And I've had various times of parenting. And there is definitely something to be said for letting a kid come home, unload, relax, do your homework, rather than saying, you have ballet at this time and piano at this time and soccer at this time. It's really stressful. So we do need to assess as individuals with our family. I mean, we were one time really overscheduled, and then we decided to take it back. It was killing us.
Right.
And you just do, there's no question that that's a good point, but there are some merits to things being structured and having our kids commit. I mean, that's another part of the article. When do you say you're allowed to quit?
And that was what I was going to get to next. Yeah. Do you have to stay with it? Do you set a guideline like, okay, we'll try it for 3 sessions, and if you like it, you can continue. You know, when do you quit? For example, you've joined a team. Team's counting on you. Can you let them quit if they decide they don't like it?
You know, we've become a culture and a system that's really pushing these kids. For example, with sports, we've been told, oh, NCAA Division I, they already have their teams picked at, you know, by the time they're freshmen in high school. What pressure is that on your children to say you won't even be allowed to participate at that level because they've already picked the team? So the coaches are pushing the kids. It's part of a whole system that you sometimes have to opt out of. And again, you just have to gauge what works for your family and what you can handle and when it starts to get too stressed out.
Yeah, I think actually the point about what a family can handle is a really critical point, because I do think that, you know, we all want the best for our kids, but, you know, if you've got mom and dad who are just spending most of their time parenting in the car, going from one place to the other, and, you know, both of them are so frazzled that really the quality of time is you know, suffering, then I think it's important to be able to, you know, say, you know what, maybe this isn't as enriching for our children.
And I think we actually have a question that deals with mom and dad as a unit.
Okay, wait, we have, I'm skipping questions, sorry. Finding time for hubby.
Yeah.
As a working mom of 4, between soccer games, school trips, a full schedule, where can my husband and I find time for ourselves? With the divorce rate what it is in this country, we want to make sure our marriage is healthy and nothing slips through the cracks.
You know, I think we were talking about this before. Right. Something's got to give sometimes.
Yeah.
And you have to make time and be individually happy, not just as a couple, but even as an individual. You know, sometimes you feel you don't even have a moment to take a shower alone. Mom, can I come ask you a question? Right. And you just have to know you're doing a good job. And Catherine, you raised a good point. We both have been very active in our community to make this a great, safe community for our children. And so sometimes you can let them go a little bit, and you don't have to be there every second. The community can be part of it, and you can get a break. I mean, you don't have to be there every second hovering.
Depending on your child.
Depending on the child. That's true. That's a whole other element that you might have to deal with.
And, you know, to the point about, like, time for your spouse, and it's you know, we're all doing so much. It's really challenging. My husband, you know, he works, but he's also a very involved parent. He's actually owns his own business, so he is home with the kids a lot. And, you know, between our schedules, and we both volunteer with some things, you know, to carve out that time just for us as a couple is always the big challenge. But we do, sometimes it's just like, you know, when one of us comes home from work and the other one's made dinner, because we share the responsibilities of cooking probably 50-50. So it might just be telling the kids, as they're trying to come to the parent that's just walked in the door, wait a second, give us 20 minutes to just chill, have a glass of wine, listen to a little music, kind of decompress about what happened in our day. And that may be it. Other times we might, actually get out and have a date night. Those are really important. But they're
the only thing I'll add to that is most of my social life is with my entire family. That's the thing. So yes, you do need a date night, but we have a lot of activities that are just the whole family. And sometimes I feel there's a big pressure, get a babysitter, go out, and sometimes we're like, what's the big deal? We'll all just go have pizza or something together and have a good time, or if it's an activity, taking a hike or something, so we're all together. It doesn't always have to be so segregated and structured, but it is definitely something we all think about, and we try to, you have to focus on it. You have to, for your health.
Right.
I want to move to a different hot topic, which is the New Jersey girl, Rachel Canning, who sued her parents for tuition and support. She claims she was kicked out of the house for not following her parents' rules, went to a friend's house, and then sued her parents to support her. Christie, I'm going to give you this one.
Well, I'm not sure the status of the case, so I cannot comment on something that's pending, but...
And it's not before you, and you're not involved.
It's not. But what we're really talking about is getting back to this issue of children feeling entitled and how different it was than times in the past where the parents ruled and the children did what the parents wanted. And in some instances, we're glad to see that children speak up and know that they have rights and a voice. But in others, you're saying, enough, you're just a brat.
Right.
Has this gone too far? And I discuss this with my mother often. And my mother makes comments about how her children have raised their children. But the court needs to make a point on those cases. Otherwise, it could just be a slippery slope. I mean, and I think when I read the article you sent, that's basically what the court said. They were making a policy decision. If we do this, can you imagine where it will go? Right. You don't like what your parents are saying? I'm going to leave and sue you, and you got to pay me child support.
So you saw the decision as basically re-empowering the parents.
Well, you never know what is really going on, and anyone with a big trial, O.J. Simpson, anything, you'd have to watch the whole thing to make a comment.
And probably even have to be there.
Absolutely. But there were definitely some issues that were raised that the press will cherry pick what they put in, and it sounds very inflammatory and exciting to the press. But the court clearly decided with the parents and made a policy decision. But you had to read everything. Why were the parents acting one way? Why was the child acting this way? And what was interesting with that is the comments. That's the best part, right? The letters to the editor. And what I found in the comments in the New Jersey paper where parents were saying, one parent said, well, I was a single parent. It was a dad, actually. And he said, I was a single parent, and now that I reflect on it, I wish I hadn't been so hard on my kids. That was how he digested it. And then, of course, there were the other people saying, who gave the kid this money to sue their parents? And it was just interesting to read the comments. And I think that's really where you get to how people digest it and what's the reality of the situation.
And do you think there's going to need to be some kind of public policy action, or this is just common
I would
sense?
hope this is just a one-off. And I actually, what, I've always been really curious about that case. I think it was a neighbor who actually helped the daughter sort of get into... It was the parent
of the...
a friend or something.
Friend who took her in.
Yeah. And
who's a lawyer.
Right. And it just seems like maybe this is a case where a little arbitration that's not actually even, or mediation that's with somebody else, to get to that point, I think is pretty sad that it had to go a legal route. It just seems like it was a failing on a lot of adults. I have to believe that were near this family to not step forward and try to come to some other way to get a resolution.
Right. Where was the school? Where were people in their lives, but that's how it is in family court sometimes.
I'm not sure. Can a school get involved?
I did have the same feeling Catherine did, like, can't we just reel this in and everybody sit in a room and chat? you know, and maybe come to some kind of agreement. Everyone cries, I hate you for this, you hate me for that, and, you know, move on, say sorry, and get beyond it. I did feel that way. But you are seeing, I mean, with divorce matters, matrimonial, they're family court, they're harrowing, they're difficult, they're a lot like this. And a lot of times it's dealing with real bad issues. Right. This is, you know, I want to stay out late and, you know, I'm mad at you. Right. So, and sometimes you do have to try to mediate and get everyone, cooler heads prevail, and let's find a common ground. But sometimes you can't. You just got to make a decision.
Let's talk about the Princeton mom, as she's known. Susan Patterson put in an article or a letter, I don't recall, in the Princetonian, and it drew fire for urging women to spend about 75% of their college career looking for a mate, because that's the best application or candidate pool you're going to find. We're all women, we all got married, and we all had children. I did not find my mate in college, nor did I spend any time looking for one. What do you think about that? And let me interject. I was a bit surprised that
they printed it.
2014, we're still encouraging. Somebody's still encouraging girls to go to college for an MRS.
How old was she? Is she?
She's older than we are.
Yeah,
a little
she's
older than we are.
older than us.
Right.
Yeah,
because it's so not contemporary,
Yeah.
and the marriage rates just. Obviously, we're not expecting our children to be married at 22, but going a little older, I have a brother who's 30, there are a lot of people not married at that point. So I wondered what kind of prompted her to write such silliness, but I don't think people
she has sons, so it's not a
they
message
could be
to
even
her
older.
own daughter.
and you know, but it's interesting. You're right that the trend for getting married is much later.
Right.
And I think. Are you the same person that you were when you were like 18 and 20? I mean, it takes some experience in life, I think, before you are really able to sort of get into a partnership like that. So to me, it seems so silly because the person's getting, I think, the advice to basically cut themselves off at the knees when it comes to really becoming who they're, again, continuing on their path of who they're supposed to be, getting out in the world and seeing what the world is. I thought it was just, again, going back exactly as you say to the MRS, and you know, for women to get that message, I think is, there may be some women that you know, they want to go to school and they just happen to meet their spouse, and that's great. But I think for women to get that as the message, that's where you look, I think is just wrong.
You know, but to play off of this, not that I agree with her opinion, but it is an interesting discussion. People do get married later, and for women, that can translate into lost opportunities for some. Looking at my college class, I have many people in my class that never married, and so now I'm 42. Maybe their chances of having a family are very difficult at this point or are gone. So, again, I don't know what prompted that woman to write that, but maybe the better argument is, you know, don't throw away every relationship, evaluate it. I don't think you should be getting married at 21 and 22, but I don't know what her point was.
Well, I think, you know, if you want to get, I think this is what she had said. If you want to get married and if you're looking to have a family, you have a certain number of years in which you can do it. And particularly, because this is where she went with it, if you're at a school like Princeton, top level school, this is where you're most likely to meet people who are your caliber if you want to. I mean, there was a very heavy dose of elitism in this.
The girls that are going to that school are very smart. I think they can judge this kind of article for themselves.
I'm going to go to a last question. Actually, Rebecca, I'm going to let you answer this one.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
What would you like for Mother's Day?
I would like my entire family to spring clean my house.
There you go. Catherine, what about you?
You know, my kids, you know, they've been asking me, what do you want for Mother's Day? And I always like the homemade gifts. You know, my daughter's very good with poetry, and my son at age 6 does some really cute pictures and everything. That's, you know, that makes me happy.
Noodle art. Right?
Yeah.
We want noodle art. And my annual gift are smelly soaps and nice hand cream, which I then live off of for a year.
There you go. Well, I want to thank you. We're out of time. I'd like to thank you for joining us. It's Catherine Parker, our county legislator, Christie Derrico, lawyer and justice. Rebecca, thank you for joining us also. And for you for joining us at the Local Live.
I was going to say, if you have any ideas for a future roundtable discussion, you can write us at thelocallive@lmc-tv.org or tweet us at thelocallive. We love hearing from our viewers.
We thank all of you for participating. For Rebecca Berman.
I'm trustee Andres Bermudez Hallstrom, and I love watching The Local Live on Thursdays.
This week in sports, the Rhinebeck girls lacrosse team scored a big win against Croton Harmon, and they couldn't have done it without some outstanding goalie play from 8th grader Casey Gottlieb. Check out her best saves in the LMC Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
Russ around, shot is saved by Gottlieb. Pass out in front, shot saved by Gottlieb. Violante with it, shot saved by Gottlieb. Dime shoots, saved by Gottlieb. Pass out in front is saved. What a save by Gottlieb. Whoever was closest. Out in front, shot saved by Gottlieb. Wow. Violante. Pass out in front, shot. What a save by Gottlieb.
Google Glasses, 3D printers, and more. This past weekend, Don Julian was at the first Festival of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. Let's check it out.
I'm in front of Homix Middle School for the STEM Alliance Science Fair, where the mathematicians, engineers, and scientists of the future are showing off their exhibits today.
How can we make robots that make art?
My experiment was to make a robot, and it was supposed to be attracted to the brightest light in the room.
You can either go to the two CAD systems that we have, Tinkercad or Rhino, where you can create your own design and make it unique. It's harder than it looks.
Approximately 2,000 students, parents, and professionals assisted in celebrating the sciences last May 3rd. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And the exhibits based on these subjects were not only interactive and accessible, but most importantly, they were fun. Organizers stressed the value of exploring and learning in new ways.
The cognitive skills of problem solving, creating, designing, taking something that doesn't exist and making it, those serve you across disciplines.
This is the exact kind of event we need to have to encourage people, and especially to encourage young women to go into these fields, because historically they have not been well represented in these fields.
I was really impressed. There are a few roller coaster exhibits, and so they build something that sort of is like a roller coaster, but they have the mathematical calculations for speed, for momentum, for velocity.
According to the Program for Student Assessment's 2012 report, the U.S. ranks 36th in math and 28th in science out of 64 countries from which data was collected. Additionally, China is not only #1, but has 3 cities in the top 10. However, the students at this fair are working hard and seem to be proving there is hope for the future.
My BristleBot here is made out of bristles, and it spreads the paint from the paper. Just put the cylinder over the paint and turn it on, and we will have a spin art like it up. That's how you get.
The exhibits even brought out the kids in the adults.
I just did the speed and pitching. I was the fastest in my age group.
There's so many different things. The nerdy derby with the little race cars and all of the different projects I've seen. Just a fantastic day.
I'm very impressed with what a lot of these children have done here today. It's preparing our kids for the 21st century world, where it's a very small world now. Everything's all interconnected. So as Americans, we want to stay on the cutting edge of technology, and this is fostering that.
From energy-efficient homes that run on solar power to interactive tutorials on the latest in Google Glass technology, the exhibits at the STEM Fair show the promise of the students involved.
I just set a goal for myself, and I challenged myself, and I think that's pretty much all that matters.
This is Don Julian reporting for the Local Live, signing off.
Make this Mother's Day unforgettable. In this week, in the Spotlight segment, Nancy White from the Flower Bar in Larchmont teaches Rebecca Berman how to surprise Mom on her day with a beautiful arrangement.
So, do April showers bring May flowers? We're here at the Flower Bar in Larchmont to find out if it's true. Nancy White is the owner of the Flower Bar, and their motto is, "We look forward to sharing our passion for flowers with you."
We have flowers coming from all over the world. This morning I just got a shipment direct from Holland with beautiful peonies, really unusual varieties, things like curcuma and allium and birds of paradise, sweet pea.
So I was wondering, can we make something for Mother's Day?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. It seems that everyone's favorite flower, especially at Mother's Day, is the peony. And so I'm going to make a beautiful Mother's Day bouquet. It's going to be all soft pinks and whites. And I'm going to use these beautiful peonies. Peonies right now are just coming into season. They're usually very expensive, but when they're in season, they're only just expensive. I was thinking I was going to do 5 peonies.
Okay.
So I'm going to do 3 this color.
Right.
And then I'm going to take 2 of the white ones.
Oh, yes.
So I love to use some accents. So I'm going to use these white tulips. And you'll notice I'm taking like 3s.
Right.
Flowers like to be in odd numbers. It's much more restful for your eye to see things that way. So even though I have 2 white and 3 pink, the 5 of them are 5. So that works.
I see.
So that's kind of like one of the little rules in flower arranging. And these are beautiful hydrangea. They really sort of work so beautifully with the peonies because they're so soft.
Right.
So I'm going to use some of this sweet pea, which comes from Japan.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
And you see, because it's a little bit brighter, it just maybe gives a little bit more life to the arrangement. Okay?
Very nice.
We put it in a vase, and I wrap it with a leaf because you don't want to see the stems. Generally, people don't like to see stems.
Okay.
I start with my biggest flowers first. You're going to put it in warm water. This I dip it. This is something called quick dip. It helps the flower to hydrate. I cut the stem so that it hits the bottom of the container, because that way I can be sure that it's going to be getting water.
Right.
So I'm going to group the peonies by color.
Okay.
So I'm going to put 2 peonies here.
And then 2 of the
And I'm
pink
going to
ones.
put 3 of them over here.
Oh, very nice.
There we are.
That is beautiful. Nancy, are there any special hours for Mother's Day?
Yes, normally we're closed on Sundays, but for Mother's Day, as it's the biggest flower holiday of the year, we'll be open until 2 o'clock on Sunday.
And this is so nice that you made this for me for Mother's Day. How kind of you. This is Rebecca Berman for the Local Live.
This week, our starring pooch is a 1-year-old Shepherd Lab mix named Ava. Ava is cat-friendly, dog-friendly, and loves children. She is already housebroken and is super smart and easy to please. She's just an all-around fabulous family dog. If you have a home for Ava, you can contact Courtney Bellew at the Special Needs Animal Rescue and Rehabilitation Center. Her number is 914-494-6456. Again, 914-494-6456. You can also email her at courtney@snarrnortheast.org.
Hello, Merrimack. I'm Carly Rose, and you are watching The Local Live.
Well, it seems like that's all the time we have for today. We hope our coverage lets you make your Mother's Day twice as special.
Indeed we do, Mike. A happy and healthy Mother's Day to all the mothers in our community.
I'm Mike Witch. Stay friendly, Mamaroneck. Stay classy, Larchmont.
And I'm Jackie Grosha. We'll see you next time here at the Local Live.
Bye-bye for now.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is the Local Live.
I've been to a movie in
Dirty.
Yeah, I've heard.
It's good, but it's dirty. They're all dirty.
Is anyone on headset? Give me 1 second.